Okay, and okay, we'll do a review on what we did last time, and then we'll continue, read a little bit inside, and then okay.
Okay, we go.
All right. Okay, so we'll read through and then go through what we did, and we'll continue. Reuben, would you be kind enough to read on page 48, bottom of the page?
If you can allow me to put it on here.
Absolutely.
I'll have it momentarily.
So, you know, Rossi, you have it already? You want to read? The paragraph begins with what?
Could it start with when the king realized the bottom part?
When the king realized, yeah.
Okay,
48 bottom.
They might not be in order.
They're
complete, but maybe not in.
That's fine. I think that's where we're going to start.
Moshe, you have it?
Why are we starting at 48?
Because that's where we reached last time. I mean, we read through it, but we're going to go through it again. Moshe, you have it?
I didn't get it. I thought I had it.
Uh-oh.
I sent it to you last time. Maybe you check the.
Okay, page 48.
Yeah, bottom, when the king realized through his dreams.
Okay. When the king realized through his dreams that his intent was desirable to the Creator, but that his actions were not, he inferred that he should search out alternative religious activity that would be favored by the Creator. He therefore asked a prominent philosopher of his time about his faith. Regarding the king's dream, the philosopher explained, God neither desires nor despises. He is above all human desires and intentions. This must be so, for a person who intends to do something is incomplete until he actually does what he intended to do. Only after he fulfills his intentions is he complete, and certainly since God lacks nothing and is always complete, he cannot desire or intend anything. Furthermore, philosophers believe that God is too elevated to know the details of this world. This is so because all events that occur in this world are temporal, and God exists outside of temporality. God then never acquires any new knowledge and so has no knowledge of you, and certainly does not know about your intentions or actions. Of course, then, God does not hear your prayers or see your movements.
Okay, let's just try to summarize these short paragraphs that we did last time. Okay, so the king of Kuzari realizes that on his own, he's not able to find in his own religion, with his own knowledge, with his own theology, the truth and the answer for his dream that repeated itself, as you remember, telling him through an angel, with the inspiration, that his intentions are desirable to the Creator, but his deeds are not. And since he tried the best with his own religion to perfect his deeds, and still that dream would repeat itself, he realized that his deeds and his religion are not the correct deeds, and he kept on searching next in external theologies or philosophies. And then we asked, why did he approach the philosopher first, if we all know that in philosophy there are no deeds? Okay, but the king, as a very rationalist person, individual, wants to make sure that this dream makes sense, and this dream is true, is valid. And in order to confirm that, he wants to do it with a philosopher who is purely focusing on the intellect and making sure that this dream makes sense. Okay, up to here? So when the philosopher begins with his demonstration of his thought or his perspective, and we see that he begins with the Creator has no desire, no will, no intention, and etc. Okay, and we explained all that in contrary to what we'll have here later on in the book, Christianity and Islam, and obviously also idol worshiping. So the philosophy has no tolerance towards, might say, a premature, childish approach to a creator in general, and relate to it any human characteristics. Okay, the philosopher is so pure, intellectual with his approach that he cannot tolerate such a perspective. So therefore, since he wants to, if we can call it, quote, protect the creator from being human, then he will refrain and say block any attributes and characteristics that are human. And since, according to the philosopher, I mean, I believe that also Christian and Muslim will say the same, but in this case, he'll show why they're wrong, is that if the creator is, or what you so call the creator is perfect, then he cannot have a will. Why? Because when do you have a will is when you're lacking something. And so, okay, a will is a proof of lacking. And if the creator is perfect, then he cannot have any will. And therefore no intention, and therefore no communication with the human beings, since they are, say, perfecting themselves and changing and evolving, and the creator is perfect, then he's static, he does not change. Yeah? What? Ah, okay. I hope it's a one-time thing.
He told me according to one.
So,
This is the philosopher's perspective, though, correct?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We're now focusing on what the philosopher has to say.
Why is the philosopher being placed above the others as opposed to on an equal platform?
Right. So we said that the king of Kuzar wants to make sure that his dream is making sense before talking about any deeds. And since he knows that the philosopher is a logical person, a very rationalist, and has no deeds, he wants to purify the thought before clarifying what kind of deeds he should do, practice. Yeah. Okay, what else we mentioned here? We also said that if philosophers claim that God created or created you, okay, it's just as a metaphor. It's not through intention, since it is a can call it accident or just happened. Okay, like let's say like the Big Bang or domino that starts to fall. Just it happened. How? We don't know. And was there any purpose of it happening? No. Any intention of it happening? No. It just happened. Why? Again, we must protect the creator to remain perfect. And if we'll claim that the creator had an intention to create, it means he's lacking. Therefore, we must say no under any circumstances that the creator has no intention, there was no intention, and it just happened. Obviously, the philosopher realizes that there's a problem by saying that, since he realizes that this world has cause and effect, and there's a reasoning for everything. There's order here, and there's this very pure, deep thought that he's trying to relate to. In order to solve that problem, then he will talk soon, very soon, about the first cause, second cause, and etc. So, okay up to here?
Yes, sir.
All right, so continue.
What year was Kuzari written?
What?
What year was Kuzari written?
what year. So Rabbi Yehuda Halevi lived about more or less 850 years or 900 years ago, but the story he's relying on was 1200 years ago. Yeah.
Do we consider the Kuzari to be a historical account, or do we consider it to be more a representation of a historical account, or do we consider it to be fiction?
Rabbi Yehuda, rather, if this story really happened or not is not that important to us. Although there are, I think archaeological traces of the Kuzari nation and some other documents about that. But what does matter is the claims that are mentioned here from the beginning of the book until the end, that they're all true, they're all valid, they're all confirmed. Yeah. Okay, Ruben.
Okay. Number 9, I think, is that where I am?
Yeah.
Okay. When philosophers say that God created you, which would imply that he knows about you, this is not to be taken literally. What is meant is that God is the ultimate source of all that exists, but not that God deliberately created you. God never created man, rather the universe has always existed. Man has also always existed, constantly being born from the previous generation and the previous generation from the one before it, and so on. The human being is composed of spiritual abilities, physical characteristics, and personality traits inherited from his parents and other relatives. Environment also plays a role in a person's physical and emotional makeup. Air quality, geography, and food and water specific to the region. Also, the planets, stars, and other celestial bodies all radiate various influences upon the individual. All worldly phenomena can ultimately be traced back to the prime cause, but that does not mean that it intentionally created everything. Rather, there was a natural drive that led this prime cause to produce a secondary cause, which in turn produced a third and fourth cause, and so on. These causes and their respective effects are inseparable. Hence, nature, as we know it, exists as an effect of these causes. Furthermore, nature has been this way forever, just like the prime cause.
Yeah. So, first of all, the philosopher has to explain and track down the creation, human beings, their characteristics. Where does it come from? Is there a beginning of it? Okay, so with his logic, he explains. If we ignore for a second the idea of creation and God, and you just logically try to think, what makes more sense? Later on we'll have that question more in depth. What makes more sense? That this creation was created out of nothing, or rather, this creation was here forever? Pure rationally, you might think that it's more convincing to claim that the world was here forever. As you know, the question, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And okay, so again, when you're just focusing on logic, then there's no, say there's no best answer to answer this.
This sounds very close to Aristotle.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Again, this philosophy that is represented here is not representing necessarily Aristotle or Plato or Socrates. Rather, it is the structure of philosophy in general. Okay? So we don't narrow it to a specific philosophy. Rather, it is the structure of philosophy in general. Okay, what else we had here? Okay, and then it narrows it down to the prime cause. And again, so we can track down everything to the prime cause, but there's no intention and will behind it. Okay, it's all as an accident that just happened. The prime cause began its movement, and then that caused the chain effect to the rest of the cause and effect, and here we are now. Okay, that's basically what he's saying here. All right, let's carry on.
51?
Yeah.
Every order of creation has a different makeup, depending upon the creation's innate elements and its environment. Within each order, we find discrepancies in the wholeness of each object. Some will have reached what would be considered perfection for that species, while others will remain with deficiencies. A deficient human, for example, would be the Cushite, who is completely human, yet has only the bare essentials of humanity. He has a human form and knows how to pronounce words, but is not prone to wisdom. The philosopher, on the other hand, is imbued with inherent abilities that give rise to a refined personality, wisdom, and good deeds. He lacks nothing in his humanity. The abilities within the individual are only potential abilities. They can be realized through studying and training. Once this is accomplished, the individual's capabilities, depending upon what qualities and deficiencies the individual is inherently meant to have, are realized. The different levels within humanity are endless.
Yeah. So, you were just 51. Yeah. As some of you were discussing just before the class. So. Well, so the philosopher is claiming that depending on the qualities and genetics of your parents, your ancestors, your background, your atmosphere, your education, then all those are factors that will determine how you'll end up. And it's determined that there are different levels in the human race. And as he claims here, the Cushite is the lowest. That's how he determines and divides the human race. Obviously, we don't believe that. In this case, it is true that every individual, according to what he's merited, okay, every individual is born with a specific potential. Okay, some person will be born with the potential to become Einstein, and another won't, and that's the way it is. Okay, now could be that Einstein, potentially Einstein, will never study, so he won't become it, and the other one who wants to be will never reach it because he's not gifted with that. That is true. That we definitely agree with that. But to claim that it's relying on race, okay, or the color of the skin, that's not. We don't agree with that. Well, you have a problem with that?
Well, like I said, I don't hold that way, but my grandmother was pretty, that if, Jews that are from, if they're not Ashkenaz, they're holding it wrong, and that means they've sort of given it up.
So, what can I say? Yeah. So maybe after class. Yeah. Okay, up to here.
And then I wonder, quite frankly, the other thing I'm wondering is, what about all the Kuzari Jews? What happened to them? Are they mixed in our bloodline, and were they properly converted or not?
So, well, as we know, according to the story, that the majority of the Khazar nation did convert. Unfortunately, they were exiled, and then they were assimilated, and most of them are gone. There is a claim, by the way, just saying, I don't want to cause any trauma, but or drama, but some claim that the Ashkenaz Jews are traces of the converts of Kuzari. So I don't know then who is better than the Ashkenaz Sephardi. I'm just saying that there is such a claim, and I don't want to cause any drama or whatever, but to claim that the Ashkenaz are superior to the Sephardi, then it's a low premature claim. We're all Jews. We're all part of Am Yisrael, and they're brilliant people from there and from there and from there, and eventually, when we all came back to Eretz Yisrael, then we shouldn't care anymore where you're from. Okay, I'm from Spain. I'm from Morocco. I'm from Poland or from Germany or whatever. You're from Eretz Yisrael. That's it. And eventually, when Mashiach comes, there's not going to be any division with the different customs. We have one tradition. Okay, so we're not there yet, but that's
no differentiation between the Nusach Ashkenaz and Sephardi and everything.
yeah. There's going to be a Eretz Yisrael Nusach.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No,
There's people trying to. I'm sure you've heard about the project. I never remember that Rob's name. There's a Rob working on trying to create. Yes, he's trying to create a as ancient of a Siddur as he possibly can.
Well, I think he's jumping ahead and.
Siddur shelo yesh rak shmona esrei brachot shmona esrei.
That's actually not true. He does have it.
Achi told me that he bought one. He bought one of the prototypes. He said there's only 18 plus.
I think they have it online. Someone showed it to me.
Okay.
Okay, but
Showed me his.
it's going off topic, so just mention it by the way. All right, with time, okay, we have a few more minutes.
52?
Wait a minute. Yeah, 52.
Okay. One who is complete is affected by a divine light, which is called the active intellect. His inspired intellect attaches itself so completely to this light that the man and the active intellect are indistinguishable from each other. At this point, all of his limbs are harnessed and focused toward performing only the most perfect acts at the most opportune times and under the most favorable circumstances. It is as if all one's faculties are complete pawns of the active intellect, having nothing to do anymore with his primitive, passive, and physically affected intellect. Whereas previously he would vacillate between being inspired by the active intellect and doing a good deed and reverting to the dormant physical side of his intellect and sinning. He now does only good. This level is the ultimate anticipated level for the perfect human being. For when one reaches this level, his soul is purified of any doubts. The soul is able to understand all areas of wisdom completely.
Yeah. So, starting to answer a little bit the question of Kuzari about the dream and about what's the purpose in life. So, philosopher says, listen, well, your dream is quite nonsense because there is no creator and there are no intentions desirable to the creator. He doesn't hear you. He doesn't speak to you. He doesn't, prophesize to you. But there's this alternative called the active intellect.
Where did the Greeks believe we came from?
They claimed that the human was always there. They what? No, the philosophy.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So the active intellect is the purpose in life. A person has to purify his characteristics, his intellect, to study and to elevate himself to the point where he attaches himself to the active intellect And if he succeeds to do so, then he will become objective, not subjective, and he will think the right things at the right time, speak the right things always, do the right things always. He'll become perfect.
And this is the philosopher speaking still, correct?
Absolutely.
That's closer to the truth. I mean, this is.
It is closer because we also, there are some sages that claim that there is such a thing as active intellect, that by studying and purifying your characteristics, you can attach yourself to and receive inspiration. Okay, but doesn't mean that you become objective. Okay, where they claim that your thought is now objective. Now you, whatever you think is the truth, is reality, it is what it is. Okay, we never claim that. There are sages that claim that the more you elevate yourself with your characteristics in your study and purifying your intellect, then you can reach this thing called active intellect or whatever, where you can receive wisdom, receive inspiration and brightness and understanding much deeper things that you would before. So that is not contradicting in Judaism. But what is this is the alternative of the creator. This is the alternative of will, of intention, of purpose. Okay? And the fact that they're claiming that the person who is attached to that active intellect will never sin anymore. He's a perfect human being.
Oh, so it's like a goal that you achieve.
Yeah.
In their minds. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. Mm.
You want to go on?
Yeah. Wait, let's see if time. Okay, we have 3 more minutes.
One's soul becomes like an angel, specifically acquiring the lowest level within the class of angels, which grants one a sense of being incorporeal. One is then on the level of the active intellect. The active intellect itself is an angel whose level is just below the angel who oversees the moon. The angels are completely devoid of physicality and have always been this way. They also live eternally, and thus they never have to fear destruction. It therefore follows that anybody who has become one with the active intellect likewise never has to fear destruction. It is very comforting to know that one is in the same group as Hermes, Asclepius, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. If one reaches this level, then he and they and everyone else who reaches that level become a single everlasting unit. So, continued the philosopher, becoming close to the Creator, as you put it, is only a figurative term. What you should do is pursue and seek out the true knowledge of all things to the point where your intellect becomes an active and no longer passive. Attach yourself to the paths of the righteous, both in traits and deeds, because this will help you acquire the vision of truth, as well as attachment and resemblance to the active intellect. By emulating the righteous, you will acquire the traits of contentment, humility, and submissiveness to others, as well as all other positive traits. You will also praise and elevate the prime cause in the process. But your objective in doing all this should not be to receive a reward or avoid retribution, as the prime cause neither rewards nor punishes, but rather become completely one with the active intellect. By doing so, you will arrive at absolute truth, and thereby you will be able to describe the prime cause correctly and know all things as they really are. These practices, therefore, rectify one's intellect.
Okay, so we don't have enough time to go through all this. So next time we'll go through all of it. But all in all, again, the perfect is to attach yourself to the active intellect, and
So what he's saying is the goal is like this existential experience that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you have this existential experience, then you're kind of like
eternal.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very Greek in thought and nature.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that's among the goyim, that is among Christianity.
Common thought. Yeah, absolutely. So, and he's saying it's very comforting to know that although you're stuck in this physical, materialistic world, if you're able to focus your whole life and devote your life to the intellect and reach that level, then you're eternal as well, and you don't have to care anymore and worry anymore about physicality and the materialistic world.
Sounds just like Kierkegaard.
In a way. All right, we'll end up here.